Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. Rain fell in fine drops on the narrow city streets, reflecting the flickering lights of the street lamps. 17-year-old Emma Johnson quickened her pace, her shoulder bag sliding slightly off her shoulder. For the past few minutes, she had noticed a dog that seemed to be following her at a distance. Black as a shadow, with bright eyes that seemed to pierce the darkness, the animal silently crept up behind her, without a sound. Emma stopped abruptly on the sidewalk in front of her house. The dog did the same, stopping a few feet away, staring intently at her. A shiver ran down her spine. It wasn't a stray. It wore a collar, but there was no name or tag visible. Its behavior was neither friendly nor aggressive, just strangely calculating. Worried, Emma took her phone out of her pocket and immediately dialed the police. Her hands were trembling slightly. She knew that calling the police might be an overreaction for a simple dog, but something in his cold stare made her deeply uneasy. "Hello?" said the agent's deep voice on the other end of the line. "Hello. I think a dog has been following me for several minutes," she replied, her voice almost a whisper. "It doesn't seem dangerous, but I don't know. I feel like I'm being watched." At that moment, the dog took a step forward, then sat down on the sidewalk, looking her straight in the eyes, as if waiting for something. Emma took a step back. Her intuition screamed that this animal was not ordinary. There was something, almost human in the way it was watching her. And that's why she had called the police. She didn't want to risk that this mysterious, silent, and persistent animal was just a pretext for a much greater danger. The rain continued to fall, heavy and cold, on the sleeping city. Emma Johnson had closed the door behind her, carefully locking all the bolts. Her heart was pounding, and her eyes scanned the street through the soaked curtains. The phone was still in her hand. The police officer, his voice calm but attentive, had asked her to stay inside and not open the door to anyone. Yet, despite these precautions, Emma sensed a presence outside. Then she saw him. The dog, motionless under the opposite porch, was watching her. His eyes shone like two fireflies in the night, and his breath made little wisps in the cold air. He didn't move, but his posture was strange, rigid, almost human. Emma felt a shiver run through her. She couldn't explain why, but this dog inspired both fear and curiosity in her. She couldn't help but think it wasn't there by chance. Was it really a dog, or something more strange? She took a deep breath and forced herself to speak aloud. "Who are you?" The dog inclined its head slightly, as if it understood. Then, without warning, it disappeared into the shadows of the alley. Emma stepped back, breathless. Her eyes searched everywhere in the darkness, but there was nothing there. A few minutes later, the doorbell rang. Emma jumped and ran to check through the peephole. No one was there. Just a puddle on her doorstep and the shadow of an animal disappearing around the corner. At that moment, she knew it wasn't just an ordinary dog. Someone, or something, was watching her. She went to her room, locked the door, and wrote in her diary. "Tonight, I met a dog, but it's not like other dogs. It's watching me, it knows where I'm going. Someone or something sent it, and I have to find out why." At the same time, outside, an indistinct figure watched the house from the shadows, and a faint growl could be heard. Barely 10 minutes after Emma's call, sirens wailed in the distance. The red and blue flashing lights reflected off the frosted windows of her room. She felt her heart race. The police were there, but she didn't yet know if that would reassure her, or make things worse. 3 uniformed officers knocked softly on the door. "Emma Johnson?" asked one of them, his voice firm but reassuring. "Yes, it's me." "Please come in," she replied, trembling slightly. They went inside and set up a small security perimeter around the house. Emma explained in detail the dog's strange behavior, how it followed her, its unusual gaze, and how it seemed to disappear and then reappear in unexpected places. One of the officers, Sergeant Miller, frowned. A dog following someone? That's unusual. Are you sure there was no one behind him? No, absolutely no one, just him, replied Emma, hesitantly. As they were talking, a soft footstep sounded outside. All eyes turned to the window. The dog was there, motionless, its eyes fixed on Emma, but this time, something had changed. Its gaze was no longer just curious or observant, it seemed to be waiting, almost commanding. Suddenly, before anyone could react, he made an incredible leap and disappeared behind the neighboring garden, as silently as he had appeared. He's gone, Emma murmured. Sergeant Miller exchanged a glance with his colleagues. That's strange. But we'll investigate. Stay inside, Mrs. Johnson. We're going to walk around the house and check the surrounding area. As they left the room, Emma felt a chill run down her spine. The dog was no longer just an intruder, it seemed connected to something much bigger, a mystery she hadn't yet begun to understand. And somewhere, in the shadows of the night, another sound emerged, a soft growl, followed by steady breathing, the dog's, still watching her, unseen. Emma knew one thing for certain, this creature had not finished surprising her. The next morning, Emma woke up still troubled by the previous day's events. The rain had stopped, but the sky remained gray and heavy, as if laden with secrets. She headed towards the kitchen, seeking some comfort in the hot coffee, when a movement at the window caught her eye. The dog was there. Sitting on the sidewalk, motionless, staring at her. As if the previous day's rain had never stopped, he seemed to be waiting for something. Emma felt her stomach clench. How had he found her house so quickly? And above all, how did he know exactly where she was? She rushed to the door, ready to confront him, but no sooner had she stepped outside than the dog leaped up and disappeared into the alley behind. Emma hesitated for a moment, then decided to follow him, driven by an irresistible curiosity. The alley was narrow and silent. Each step seemed to amplify the rhythm of her heartbeat. Then, at an intersection, she saw him. The dog was waiting there, sitting calmly. But what struck Emma was the dog's position, he wasn't alone. Around him, small, unusual marks shone faintly on the ground, as if someone, or something, had left luminous traces invisible to others. Emma knelt down to examine the tracks. Her fingers brushed against a faint glint on the ground. She felt a strange energy spread through her hand, a sensation both reassuring and terrifying. The dog then moved slowly toward her, its gaze still fixed. Then, against all logic, it sat on its hind legs and placed its front paw on her hand, as if inviting her to follow. Emma felt a shiver run down her spine. Was it a simple gesture of affection? Or a form of communication? As she looked up, she glimpsed a blurry, almost invisible figure in the distance, seemingly watching them from the shadows. Emma instinctively stepped back, but the dog reassured her with a soft growl. It was clear, he was protecting her, and yet, he knew more than she did. Upon returning home, Emma understood one thing: this dog was not just an animal. He was the guardian of a mystery she had only just begun to glimpse. And somewhere in the city, ancient secrets awaited revelation, guided by this mysterious companion who seemed capable of everything, except speaking. The next morning, Emma couldn't concentrate on her studies. Her thoughts were completely absorbed by the mysterious dog. Who was he really? Why was he following her so persistently? Returning home from school, she decided to search the garden a little more carefully, where the dog had disappeared the day before. Her gaze fell upon something that shone faintly among the grass, a small silver medallion attached to a collar, barely visible under the dried mud. Emma carefully picked it up. A name was engraved on the locket, Shadow, and a date, 12/09/2010. She frowned. Shadow? It sounded like a common dog name, but the date seemed to indicate something older, almost like a reminder. At that precise moment, a soft growl came from behind her. She turned around abruptly. The dog stood there, motionless, its eyes fixed on the locket in its hand. It tilted its head slightly, and for the first time, Emma had the impression that it was trying to communicate something urgent. She placed the collar around her neck to examine it more closely. As she touched it, a series of fleeting images flashed through her mind: dark alleyways, an old man speaking in hushed tones, and a strange, abandoned house on the edge of town. Emma blinked, surprised and confused. Was it a dream? Or had the dog just transmitted something to her, mentally? Determined to understand, she took out her notebook and began to write down everything she had seen and felt. Every detail, every gesture of the dog, every appearance in the alley seemed to point to a greater secret. Suddenly, a metallic clang behind her startled her. The dog immediately darted towards the gate of the house, growling deeply. Emma followed and saw, in the shadows of the street, a familiar figure. It was Police Officer Miller, his face grave and concerned. "Emma, I think this dog is not ordinary. I spoke to a colleague who has known this neighborhood for a long time. Shadow, that name comes up in several strange stories. It is said that this dog always appears before something inexplicable happens." Emma felt a chill run down her spine. It was no longer just an animal following her, it was a messenger, a guide, or perhaps a warning. And somewhere, Shadow was waiting for her, ready to lead her into a mystery she could never have imagined. That night, the city seemed different. The streets were silent, almost oppressive. Emma followed Shadow at a distance, her eyes fixed on the dog who advanced with astonishing confidence, as if he knew every nook and cranny, every forgotten alley. They arrived in front of an old, abandoned house on the edge of the neighborhood. The shutters were broken, the windows dusty, and the air smelled of rotten wood and damp. Shadow stopped and looked at it, placing his paw on the threshold as if to indicate that they should enter. Emma took a deep breath and stepped through the gate. Inside, all was silent except for their footsteps echoing on the creaking floorboards. Every movement made the walls vibrate, and Shadow's shadow seemed to dance on the old beams. Then, a noise behind them made her jump, quick, heavy footsteps coming from the floor above. Emma held her breath. Shadow growled, the hairs on the back of his neck standing on end. Someone or something was there. Before Emma could react, a figure emerged from the shadows, a man with his face hidden by a hood. He reached out his hand towards her. "Who are you?" Emma asked in a trembling but resolute voice. I don't want to cause any harm," he replied hesitantly. Shadow suddenly leaped between them, growling deeply, and the man took a step back, surprised by the dog's speed and intensity. Emma felt a surge of adrenaline. She understood that Shadow wasn't just a guide, he was protecting her. "What are you doing here?" she asked, trying to remain calm. I'm looking for Shadow too," the man murmured, his voice trembling. He's been linked to some strange things." Emma frowned. Did anyone else know Shadow? And why was he here, in this abandoned house, exactly when she was investigating? Before they could talk any further, a muffled sound echoed outside. Someone was approaching, and this time it wasn't friendly. Shadow barked furiously, his eyes shining with an almost supernatural light. Emma sensed the danger drawing near. She knew they only had seconds to act. Shadow led her toward a trapdoor hidden beneath an old rug. As she stepped inside, her heart pounded in her chest. The adventure was just beginning, and the mystery surrounding Shadow had just taken a far more dangerous turn. The trapdoor opened onto a narrow staircase leading to a dusty basement. Emma descended cautiously, Shadow at her heels, his ears pricked and his gaze attentive to every sound. The hooded man followed her, trembling slightly, as if each step awakened painful memories. The basement was filled with old furniture covered in sheets and stacks of cardboard boxes. In the center, an old wooden wardrobe seemed to hold something valuable. Shadow approached and lightly scratched at the door, letting out a low grunt. "Shadow," Emma murmured. "What do you want to show us?" At that moment, the hooded man straightened up and finally spoke in a trembling voice. "Shadow is no ordinary dog. He was found years ago by my grandfather. It was said that he belonged to a line of guardian animals, created to guard an ancient secret, a secret connected to this city." Emma frowned, fascinated and worried. An ancient secret? She asked. The man nodded. Yes, this city was founded on land that once housed a secret society. Shadow is one of their guardians. He appears when someone gets closer to the truth, to guide and protect, but also to warn of danger. Emma felt a chill run down her spine. Everything she had felt since her first encounter with Shadow finally made sense. The mysterious dog wasn't there by chance, he had been sent to protect her and guide her towards something crucial. Shadow approached the wardrobe and gently pushed the door open with his paw. Inside, an old metal box caught Emma's eye. She carefully opened it and discovered old documents, city maps, and a yellowed newspaper. "This journal," murmured the hooded man. "It belonged to my grandfather. It contains clues to the secret Shadow has been protecting for generations." Emma picked up the journal and opened it. The pages described mysterious events, hidden places, and ancient rituals designed to protect the city from a forgotten danger. And on every page, the name Shadow appeared, always linked to the protection of certain chosen individuals. Emma looked up at the dog. He was looking at her intently, as if to say, "Now you know. It's your turn to understand and act." For the first time, Emma understood that her life had just been turned upside down, embracing something far greater than she could have ever imagined. Shadow wasn't simply a mysterious animal, he was the key to an ancient secret, and she had to follow him to the end. The next day, Emma decided to follow the newspaper's directions. Shadow was by her side, attentive to her every move, as if he knew exactly where to go. The hooded man, who finally introduced himself as Lucas, walked behind them, sometimes hesitant, but clearly relieved to have found someone who could help her. The journal led to an old city park, abandoned for years. The trees were twisted, and the rusty swings creaked in the wind. Emma felt a shiver as she read the pages describing the park, indicating that an ancient symbol was carved there, connected to Shadow and the secret he protected. "Here," Emma murmured, opening the newspaper to the indicated page. "It says I have to find the symbol carved on the stone in the center of the park." They advanced cautiously. Shadow stopped in front of an old, moss-covered fountain and barked softly, pointing his muzzle at a slightly raised stone. Emma knelt down and brushed away the moss. There, carved into the stone, appeared an ancient symbol, the silhouette of a dog surrounded by mysterious geometric patterns. "It's incredible," Lucas murmured. "My grandfather used to say these symbols were beacons. They indicate a secret path to protect those destined to uncover the mystery." As Emma studied the symbol, a noise behind them startled her. A dark figure slipped between the trees, swift and silent. Shadow immediately positioned himself in front of Emma, growling fiercely. "Who are you?" Lucas shouted, but the figure did not answer. It rushed towards them. Emma felt her heart pounding. Shadow leaped and intercepted the figure. They both froze, growls and barks filling the park. Emma grabbed the newspaper and began frantically flipping through the pages, searching for a clue to defend herself. Then, a sentence caught his attention: "Only the bond of trust between the guardian and the one he protects opens the way and repels the shadow." Emma immediately realized that Shadow was not just a guide, but a weapon against danger. She knelt down, placed her hands on the dog's head, and whispered, "I trust you, Shadow, protect me." The dog growled one last time, then leaped at the shadow, which vanished suddenly into the darkness, as if sucked into the night. Emma froze, panting. The park fell silent again, but the threat was still there, somewhere. "We must be careful," said Lucas, still trembling. "Someone or something doesn't want us to discover Shadow's secret." Emma nodded. For the first time, she understood that this adventure wouldn't be limited to mysterious discoveries. She had become a target, and Shadow would be her only protection against a danger she didn't yet fully understand. In the days that followed, Emma spent every free moment studying the newspaper and following Shadow through the streets and alleyways of the city. The dog seemed to sense things she couldn't understand, leading her to forgotten and sometimes dangerous places, but always with incredible accuracy. One evening, as they reached an old, abandoned library, Shadow stopped in front of the door, growling softly. Emma and Lucas exchanged a worried glance. Something in the air suggested that this place held a major clue. Inside, dust and cobwebs covered the shelves. Emma moved forward cautiously, while Shadow sniffed around every nook and cranny. Suddenly, he began to scrape at one shelf in particular. Emma approached and discovered, behind a book, a small secret compartment containing an ancient key and a yellowed parchment. "The key," Lucas murmured. "My grandfather spoke of a key capable of opening the Protector's secret passage. It only appears to those Shadow deems worthy." Emma took the key and unrolled the parchment. The instructions were cryptic but clear: follow the Guardian to the sanctuary. There, the truth will be revealed and the eternal bond between human and Protector will be sealed. Shadow barked softly, then ran towards a hidden door at the back of the library. Emma and Lucas followed him, discovering a spiral staircase that descended deep underground. The air grew heavier with each step. Halfway there, a chill ran through them. A figure emerged from the shadows, the shadow that had been stalking them since the park. Its eyes shone with a malevolent light, and it whispered, "You shouldn't be here." Shadow immediately positioned himself between Emma and the figure, his fur bristling. Emma felt the adrenaline surge. This time, she couldn't run away. She took a deep breath and whispered, "We will not leave. Shadow is guiding us, and we must understand." The shadow recoiled slightly, seeming to hesitate. Then, with a swift movement, it disappeared into the darkness of the tunnel, leaving behind an almost palpable trail of shadow. Emma then understood that Shadow's mission wasn't just to protect her, he had to lead her to the truth about this mysterious figure and an ancient secret connected to the entire city. Shadow was much more than a guard dog, he was the key to preventing this secret from falling into the wrong hands. Lucas, trembling but resolute, murmured, "We must continue. This is where everything is decided." Emma nodded, her gaze fixed on Shadow. She was ready. The sanctuary awaited them, and with it, the truth about Shadow, about the Shadow, and about the destiny that had just changed their lives forever. After what seemed like an eternity in the dark tunnel, Emma, Lucas, and Shadow finally reached a large stone door engraved with ancient symbols. The designs glowed faintly in the beams of their flashlights. Shadow placed his paw on the door, as if to activate some invisible mechanism. Emma inserted the ancient key they had found into the lock. A click sounded, and the door slowly opened, revealing a vast underground chamber. The sanctuary was awe-inspiring. Ancient frescoes covered the walls, telling the story of a line of protectors and their guardians. Statues of dogs, similar to Shadow, were placed at the four corners, each seemingly watching over a specific point. In the center of the room, a platform held an ancient chest. Emma approached cautiously. Shadow growled softly, but showed no sign of aggression. Lucas murmured, "My grandfather used to say that the chest contained the truth about Shadow's origins and his lineage's mission." Emma slowly opened the chest. Inside, scrolls, medallions, and a strange, luminous stone lay on a velvet cloth. One of the scrolls caught her eye. It explained that Shadow and his predecessors had been created by an ancient order to protect powerful secrets capable of changing the city's destiny. But the moment Emma looked up, the shadowy figure reappeared. This time, it was complete and distinct, a man in a black hood, his eyes gleaming with cold malevolence. "You have discovered what should not have been discovered," he said. "And now you can never leave." Shadow immediately positioned himself in front of Emma, growling loudly, his eyes shining with a supernatural glow. Emma felt a strange energy spreading through her. Shadow was protecting her not only with his physical strength, but with an ancient, almost magical bond that reinforced their connection. The man took a step forward, but Shadow leaped forward with incredible speed, barking and bounding around him like a living storm. Emma, inspired by the dog's courage, grabbed the glowing stone from the chest. An intense light filled the room, casting shadows in every corner and forcing the man to retreat. "Emma," Lucas murmured, "it's the stone. It contains protective energy. It can repel the shadow." Emma lifted the stone, and with a firm gesture, she focused her energy on the hooded man. The shadow screamed and vanished in a swirl of black smoke, leaving behind a profound silence. Shadow lay at her feet, panting but victorious. Emma finally felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The truth had been revealed. Shadow wasn't just a mysterious dog. He was the guardian of ancient secrets, and she was now bound to him by a shared destiny. "We did it," Emma murmured, touching Shadow's head. "Not just us." Shadow guided the way, Lucas added respectfully. The sanctuary, silent and peaceful now, seemed to bless them with its soft light. But Emma knew that the adventure was not entirely over. Other mysteries awaited, other secrets linked to Shadow and the city. After the confrontation with the Shadow, the sanctuary fell back into a profound silence. The soft light filtering through the stone illuminated the frescoes and dog statues, casting golden reflections on the walls. Emma sat on a stone bench, Shadow at her feet, panting but alert. Lucas remained close to her, still awestruck by the power and mystery of the place. Emma opened the newspaper again, rereading the words of the old order. "The Guardian does not merely protect a secret, he guides those who are worthy of bearing knowledge and preserving balance." She then fully understood what Shadow had done from the first day. He had chosen her, guided her and protected her so that she would become the new link between the past and the future of the city. Shadow stood up and placed his paw on her hand, as if to seal their bond. Emma felt a gentle warmth spread throughout her body. It wasn't just a physical connection, but something deeper, a spiritual and emotional bond, a silent pact between her and her protector. Lucas smiled, his eyes shining. "I never believed your grandfather's stories, but now I see. Shadow is incredible. And you, Emma, have the courage and the heart to continue this mission." Emma stroked Shadow, feeling the weight and responsibility of this role. She knew her life had changed forever. Shadow's mystery didn't end here, it had just begun in a new form, a partnership, an unbreakable bond, and a promise to protect the city's ancient secrets. Outside, the sun rose gently, bathing the streets and rooftops in a golden light. Emma, Shadow, and Lucas left the sanctuary. For the first time in weeks, Emma felt at peace. She knew that as long as Shadow was by her side, she would be ready to face the mysteries and dangers ahead. As they walked through the city, Shadow paused for a moment and looked at Emma. His eyes shone with intelligence and loyalty. Then, with a determined step, he led her towards new alleyways, new clues, and perhaps new adventures. Emma smiled. She was no longer alone. Shadow was no longer just a mysterious dog, he was her guide, her protector, and her friend for life. Together, they would continue to uncover the city's hidden secrets, ready to face whatever fate had in store for them. And in her heart, Emma knew one thing for certain: some encounters are never by chance. Shadow had changed her life forever, and their bond would remain eternal.